Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our webinar. It's a really, really special webinar today. We're at the end of the month of March. The month of March is honoring women, and we thought we'd do a webinar for women-owned businesses and how, what are the challenges that women-owned businesses face typically, stereotypically, and what are some of the solutions? And some of the problems can be, old-fashioned problems, traditional problems. Some of the solutions can be really innovative and new, and that's what we're hoping to explore with you and talk with you a bit. Let's start by doing some introductions. Just while the last of you I can see are still logging on. I am delighted to be joined by Gabriela. Gabriela Zelaya is the acting Global Diversity Export Initiative Director. That's the GDEI for short, that you'll see several times in the presentation. And Gabriela is going to talk to us a little bit about what U.S. commercial services are doing in there, some of the services offered, some of what's going on, and how you can reach out for help with that. I'm really, really, really pleased always to have Deborah with us. Deborah Dudley is president and owner of Oscarware. Oscarware is the home of the grill topper, the inventor of the grill topper. And so that's a woman-owned business, and she's going to tell a little bit of her story, both about some of the challenges that women-owned businesses can face, some of the difficulties, but some of the triumphs, and some of the assistance and some of the things that she's found most useful. So that's Deborah that's joining us as well. And Kate Isler is the co-founder and the CEO of the W Marketplace and also the W Marketplace Accelerator. And she's joined also with her other co-founder and CMO, Susan Gates. And all the contact details are there on the slide deck, so you can see their email addresses. I've left Deborah's out, but their email addresses in case you want to get a hold of them. And there'll be some other contact areas later as well. And Kate and Susan have a really interesting story about women-owned and for women dedicated e-marketplaces. So again, e-commerce and this woman-owned. But then they took another step and said, you know what, we can even help these e-commerce companies even more. And again, they have that story for you. And then my name is Susanna. I'm Chief Content Officer at a company called IBT Online. And it's great fun being a Chief Content Officer. It's sort of jack of all trades. I get to do a little bit of everything. It's really fun. And IBT Online is a U.S. company. We're headquartered in Florida. We have a couple of branches around, and we are known for, what do we do? We are known for our e-commerce websites, but also our online marketing and just our normal websites. We are what's called a full stack online marketing company, but we're known for two things. We're known for our ability to help companies grow internationally, so export, and we're focused on the sort of mid-cap companies. So those small mid-cap companies who need us, we find most of which we can bring most value to. We also we initiated something called the Online Global Programs, and these are covered in many, many different U.S. states. They are designed for mid-cap companies to help them, and very often are supported by state grants and things like that, which we can talk about. If you have an interest, let us know. Our agenda today. So it's we've got a lot of people talking. So we've put a lot into this webinar. But don't worry, you don't have to take notes. You can sit back, relax. You'll get a recording tomorrow, Easter Friday. You can listen to the recording all again, share it. Just enjoy. We realize you're busy. We realize you've got businesses to run. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. And now is a moment for you. So just take the time and say, well, here's some of the questions I've never had time to ask. Put them in the chat box, and we'll get back to them and focus on them. So great. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing on the online world right now, some of the big trends we're seeing, some of the big drivers that we're seeing across globally, really just across markets, B2C, B2B. And then I'm going to turn to Kate and Susan, talk about the W Marketplace and the Accelerator and how women-owned businesses can be assisted with that. And then I'm going to ask Deborah to talk about sort of e-commerce exporters success story. And then I'm going to briefly come back just with a few little tips about sort of, those must-have items for e-commerce. And then Gabriella's going to talk to us a little bit about U.S. commercial service and the GDEI. We have question time at the end. There you go. Right, let's just kick off in that case. So we're going to start with the so-called future of sales. Sounds very grand, but we thought we'd pull together some of the biggest ideas. And I think I just want to paint the landscape first. So what is the online landscape? Just saying, we are a grand total of 8 billion people on the planet, and 8 billion people, 5.5 billion phones. Amazing. Most phones now internet enabled. 5.4, 5.3 people using the internet. 5 billion using social media. And if you look at, there's a lot on this slide. The average time that people spend across the world online, 6 hours and 40 minutes, of which nearly 3 hours on social media. This is seriously, seriously good news for small and mid-cap companies, because if you're running a company and you're wondering where your prospects are, you know where they are. They're online. You know how you can reach them online. So that's, I think, one of the things to take away from this, is that the online world is global and it is vast, and it's 6 hours and 40 minutes. Get a life. And I wanted to show you also that it is really global. For example, the use of social media for brand research or for other, the USA is that big blue arrow that you see on your screen. Everything to the left of that are other countries that use social media even more for brand research than the US does. So if you're thinking, well, we do this, so saturated in the US, think of the UAE, think of Egypt, China, the worldwide one is the white arrow. So, just to show you, this really is a global phenomenon, as is e-commerce. Now, e-commerce, boosted up a lot in the pandemic, obviously, and is now back to those more saner growth rates. But nonetheless, it is absolutely global, and it is, it's 4 out of 5 of the billion internet users across the world shop online. And this is mainly B2C, but I can tell you the B2B is actually larger. And again, if we look globally, the US is just slightly below the world average. Again, that blue arrow on the bottom is the US, and the white arrow, or the white line is the average. So again, the US is actually slightly below. The US represents 12% of global e-commerce shoppers. So if you're thinking, okay, that's my market, that can make you aspire to go further. And if we look at this, a lot of those stats are on B2C because they're easier to. But if we look at B2B, if you're in the B2B sector, it's actually much larger than B2C. The B2B market is about 3 times the size of B2C. And again, propelled by the pandemic, but even before, it was really a very vibrant, huge market. And B2B, we'll have more to talk about that later when I talk a little bit more about e-commerce itself. So when we look at sort of the future of sales, the sort of big words, some of the big things that we're seeing, and I apologize for the very red of this slide, it's a bit gruesome. The future of sales, for what we see, is that it's digital first. People, if you think of yourself, think of where do you do? Where do you go for information? You go to your phone, you go to your computer, you go online. Where can I find the best? Where can I buy this? Where can I find that? You go online. Everyone does. Everyone in the world does. Digital first, and people want to have that digital scouting out before being called, before getting email, before getting anything else. They want to check it out first. If you go to a trade show these days, very often people will walk past your booth, check it out, and then they'll look at your QR code, check your QR code, walk away, figure it out if they really want to spend time with you, and then if they do, they come back. So they want to investigate you first. And it's the way that they want to do it. They don't want, here's the only way you can do it is this way. No, they want to do it the way they want to do it. So it has to be omni-channel as well. It has to be on their platform, not necessarily the one you want, but the way. And the third thing is that it's customer-centric. And this, again, is very internet. Everything on the internet is searcher-centric. It is customer-centric. It is the way the person searching that you have to think of. You have to put yourself in their shoes. And I think both Kate, Susan talk about buyer personas, and I will also in some of the presentations I'll be doing, and how important it is to segment your audience when you're looking at your sales. So latest trends that we're seeing, and I'm going to round up my section and pass over to Kate and Susan. Latest trends that we're seeing, obviously AI. Everyone's talking about AI all the time. Otherwise, next would be sort of e-commerce, definitely. Am I frozen? Is you frozen? Okay, right. AI, e-commerce. Then this personalization side is very important as well. Can we move to the next slide? Hello, hello, Celia. Nope, too far. AI, I wanted to talk about, and e-commerce. The other one I want to talk about was personalization and community, and social commerce, and data privacy. There we go. That's the slide I wanted. Sorry. So this is an interesting thing as well as personalization. The world in this global scene, and we're all online all the time. At the same time, every interaction, we always want it to be personal. We want it to be personalized to the, and you'll find that your customers are also looking for that very personalized approach. So a lot of the tools you need to use, whether it's the social media tools or whatever, are really on this personalized level. And then finally, data privacy and compliance is absolutely important, and something that I think nobody can ignore anymore. Right. Apologies for my glitch there. I was a bit frozen there. But we're now on. I want to now pass on to Kate and Susan and talk a little bit about the W marketplace, where that is. Kate, please.
Good morning. It is such a pleasure to be here. So thank you, Susanna, and all of you. It is lovely to talk with you around e-commerce. It is our pulse these days. And I think, as Susanna said, we are seeing that the world has changed greatly, and online shopping is a norm now. And so we started our business, this portion of our business, during the pandemic, and really it became really clear to us very quickly that as women were losing their jobs and their incomes and being disproportionately affected, and everyone was online shopping, we saw first a business opportunity to put these things together and a way to support women in terms of providing them with a tool for economic development. And so we founded the W Marketplace to really empower women and close the economic gender gap. And so when we think about that, and if you can go to the next slide for me. Great. So this is what the marketplace is. It is actually an online sales channel and innovative accelerator program to help women sell better online across all their platforms. So as we began, there is giant e-commerce channels that we all know, consumer channels. But we thought that there was the need for a little bit of diversity here and channels that really support women. And quickly, it became clear that women needed additional support and to really learn how to show up online and make the most of their online sales. And so we started our sales channel, and then within a few months started our accelerator. And that's what we do today, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And I want to just talk really specifically around what drove our decision, because we can think about online sales and we can think about, what are the returns on that, but what's the motivation for really focusing on women? And if you go to the next slide, there's some data behind that. And so that was not an arbitrary thought for us. It was very specific. We knew we were in the heat of the pandemic, but we also know that data has told us for years that women-owned businesses, the return on the investment is much higher. And so we thought that there was a way to support that. We also know that women that adopt digital tools do so much better in terms of sustainability and stay in the markets and grow really long-term businesses. And so we wanted to help support that mission and say, women oftentimes leapfrog the old antiquated systems and use payment tools and gateways and e-commerce and specifically marketplaces, which I think is a really interesting one, as women begin to expand their businesses into the US. And as Susanna talked about, there's a global opportunity for women to sell online, and the world has opened up for us. And those that begin to invest in what is the right market for me? Where do I look to the right market? And how do I get engaged? The great way to do that is to find a marketplace in that foreign market, in that international market that fits your needs and kind of go forward. So we're seeing that as a really sustainable piece. The other thing is really finding women-owned businesses that contribute back to their communities and to their region and national economies. We know that when women make income, they return that income. And we have seen that when programs are specifically targeting women-owned businesses, it makes a big difference. And so we're really, again, following the numbers here. It's to say, how do we grow based on the success that's come before us and those indicators? And so that's how we've built our business. And then certainly, our feeling is that e-commerce is a leveler for women. It's global sales, and women can build e-commerce businesses wherever they are. They can do it on their own time, regardless of their family commitments and their cultural commitments. They can run an e-commerce business. And so it changes the playing field for women and for diversity. And so we're very excited about, women return less or return more money. They support the economy. It's all, it all points to let's support them with dedicated programs and really try and facilitate that growth. And so that's the sort of the part of our business that we're very much focused on. And we are looking to take advantage of that online opportunity. And then I'll say one more slide and just a quick overview of what that program is. And then I'll hand it off to Susan. So one of the things in our program, we very much focus on being practical. We want to provide women with tools that they can use today and strategies that they can implement today. The great news about all of this is we have an online sales platform that they can actually try out some of these strategies. So we have an extensive marketplace with about 500 women-owned businesses from several parts of the world that are selling in the US right now, and about 13,000 products. So the thing I would say about that is, one, we know that our strategy works, and so we've seen that. And the second thing I'd put a bug in all of your ears is if you're looking for an alternative shopping place, we have one for you to check out to support women-owned businesses. And so I know that we have a lot of great content, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time, but know that, when Susanna talked about their target audience is sort of mid-cap businesses, we kind of come down that scale, and we believe that our audience is micro and small business, is where we're getting started and where they're looking to expand to scale online. And so I'll leave it there, and then Susan, I'll let you go from there.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm so excited that we're closing out Women's History Month with this topic, because I think that what everybody has been pointing toward is that there is so much opportunity for women entrepreneurs to grow online. And the point of this entire conversation is to talk about what are the resources and how can we kind of, support that growth online and be there for these businesses to help them grow. I know we have just a couple of minutes, because I know as Kate mentioned, there's a lot of content to get through, and we would definitely want to leave time for Q&A. So if we could I'm just going to really quickly just touch on the next couple of slides. And the purpose of this is really just to give everyone on the webinar a sense of what the content is that we deliver through our accelerator to help, as Kate mentioned, more of these micro and smaller enterprises to develop their online business. So you can see from our overall learning agenda that we spend a lot of time just focusing on how do you optimize your online presence? And it's, getting things right in terms of your product listings. That's very tactical. Like, do you have the right number of photos? Are the photos the right kinds of photos? Are your product titles capturing the keywords? Deborah is nodding like, yes, these are all of the things that we have had to work on. These are the very, very practical things that are so, so crucial for customers finding you and then converting that finding into an actual purpose. And then we really bring all of those online skills together in talking about how do you take all of that and then maximize that for growing overseas, right? Like, many of these same basic principles are the principles that you're going to apply when you're talking with international customers, but with that filter that both Kate and Susanna referred to earlier, which is around customer segmentation, making sure that you're talking to your customers in a way that resonates with them when they're not residing within the US. So if we could just touch on the next couple of slides quickly, I'm going to be fast because I know we've got a lot of content here. So, we get started with just like, what does this mean to be ready to export? So we kind of go through a series of questions that are just the really basic questions when you're thinking about your product. There are categories of products that are regulated differently in other countries than they are in the US. For example, an industry that I used to work in is the beverage industry, and there are ingredients that are acceptable in the US market that are regulated differently in Japan, for example, which was one of my big customers. So we had to completely reformulate our product in order to ship those products to Japan. So, and our packaging to then reflect the different formulations. So these are some of the basic questions that you're going to want to ask yourself when you're thinking about, are you ready to export? Are you ready to make that investment in your products in order to successfully export? So let's go to the next slide. So these are some of the questions we're going to be talking about. And then we're going to spend some time during this session talking about your brand and the relevance of your brand to a new market. Does your brand make sense within a target market that you have identified? Is your visual identity, are there colors that mean something wonderful in the US but might be the red flag or another color flag in another country? So we talk through these considerations and the way that you want to think about that for your business when you are positioning yourself for international customers. So let's jump to the next slide again quickly. And then again, you're thinking about who is your customer. So you've looked at your products, you've looked at your business, your identity, your brand identity, and now you're thinking about your customer. So you're taking those first two pieces together, and now we're looking at, do all of those things work with those customer segments that you're thinking about for these new markets? What age range are you targeting? What country are you targeting? How are they talking? How do they discover products within their particular culture? Who influences them in their buying decisions within their particular culture? So again, going through all of these customer considerations that may be very similar if we're talking about a similar culture. If you're shipping to Canada, maybe some of those cultural considerations are not going to be as different. But if you're shipping to a culture that is more different than the US, then how do you think about those cultural differences? And then the next slide, please. But one of the things that we build through our entire segment around exporting is we build in the resources, and we're pointing you to the resources that can help you get all of this information. So if you're thinking about things like psychographics, age demographics, regulations, regulatory structures that are going to affect your products, we're going to help you find those resources that are going to connect you to that data, that information, and smooth out and reduce those barriers and reduce that cost to finding that information. So again, just kind of pulling back. So it's how to think about your business, how to think about your products, how to think about your customers, and then where are you going to find the resources to help you put all of that together. And that's really how we look at our accelerator and the exporting piece of our accelerator. So it's around resources and helping you think about your business. So I am going to stop talking at high speed now, so we can. So we
Susan, thank you so much.
Content.
No, thank you so much. Actually, I just want to maybe just ask the audience if anyone would like to have some more feedback about the accelerator. There's a little poll that's going to happen now. So just tell us, would you like to have more information about W Marketplace? You could always go online and find it. But if you have an interest in that, let us know where it is on that and how that is, and if you'd like to think about it a while or whatever. So again, let us know, and we'll reach out or reach back to you, or sorry, Kate and Susan will reach back to you by email or whatever. So thank you very much for that. And one of the big themes we have here is obviously sort of just this whole fact that exporting can be incredibly rewarding and all that. And then I wanted to pass on to Deborah and say, right, Deborah, tell us a little bit about your story about Oscarware, about how you found that a success.
Thanks, Suzanne and Kate, Susan. I didn't know all that 3 years ago. I've learned it, and and what you're doing is going to help so many women do what they need to do today, and that is be online. So I'm so glad you were here today, and it's been a pleasure listening to you talk. Now, my business is in Bonneville, Kentucky, a small town. I'm a manufacturer, which is really cool for a woman, I think. But how this all got started was, it's a story of music, love, and lack of a kitchen stove. I fell in love while I was singing on stage, got married, rented a house, no kitchen stove. That's filling in the blanks. Out of that situation, we had an old grill, an old barbecue grill, gas grill that we were cooking on. And we were living on love and wanted to start a business. So all this grilling on an outdoor grill, we were unable to grill a lot of different foods that we like to eat. So my husband, who was a very smart man, my late husband, smartest man I ever knew, was involved in a satellite dish industry. He was a pioneer in that. And one of the components of that product was expanded aluminum. And so he rigged up this little rectangular sheet of expanded metal, placed it on top of our outdoor grill, and we were able to grill anything we wanted: fresh vegetables, pizza, burgers, and hot dogs. But at that moment, we had no idea that we had a product in our hand that would change our lives and outdoor grilling forever. Now, that was a long time ago. Our business is 35 years old. There was no internet. There was no fax machines. There was telephones, and two people who really wanted to start this business, calling, driving with samples, I was on QVC. I mean, anything that we could do to tell the world about a grill topper and about our brand. It was tough. It's so hard for people much younger than I to imagine that, because that is how it was. I got to live through that, and I got to get to where I am now by the change in this whole retail landscape. But when COVID hit, we had a website, but it was not an e-commerce website. To get to where we got to be known as a grill topper and our brand, we still went to, I don't know how many expensive trade shows. We would stand in the booth. We would grill on an electric grill. People would come around and go, wow, I want to do that. I want one of those. That's a great idea. The number one retailer in the USA walked in one of our trade show booths in 1989 and said, call me. We did. That started our business going. But it still was not what it is today. It still is so much easier today than it was then for me to tell the world about my brand, about my product, share product videos, beautiful pictures as you were talking. I mean, the best I can look, the best I can be on my e-commerce online website. That was quite a challenge for me to think when COVID hit that I got to do this, because online shopping exploded and I was not there, and I had to get there, because to grow your business, sustain your business, you've got to look to the future, and you've got to change what you're doing. If there's something you need to do, you need to do it. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do it. I don't know who can help me do this. So I talked to other business owners, other people like you who had done it. And you know what? They said, this team IB team's pretty good. They're the best. I mean, they are the best. Building this website is like build a house. I can't do electrical work. I don't want to paint the walls. It's thinking of how you want this to look. Make yourself look the best you can be. Build credibility, value, reputation to your product, to your brand, all the content, all that matters. I am not good at all that stuff. And I have to order steel, aluminum. I have to plan production for my employees. I have to meet my customers' expectations every day that I'm already selling to sustain those relationships. But gosh, I got to get this done. Well, let me tell you what, IBT, you are the best team. I don't know anybody else that could have helped me get to where I'm at right now with my new awesome online e-commerce website. You made it such an enjoyable experience. You really got to know my business, my products. You really care. And you're always current. Whatever we need to change, whatever we need to do, social media, Facebook, Instagram, I mean, anything that we want to tell, about our product, anything we want to celebrate about a holiday, anything we want to, anywhere we want to go. I mean, if we're so excited about growing our business globally. We're a global company today. We are into all across the USA and into through ASDA and Army Air Force Exchange, 14 other countries. But going directly to a consumer, being able to tell them on a cell phone, on a desktop, on any device, anywhere, in any language, is what you're going to help me do. And we're so excited about it because we know we can. But thank you. I mean, it takes teamwork. I have employees that do many other things for me. I have to lead. I have to know enough to lead. But what you all have done for me and what this has done for my business is it's amazing. And my recommendation to anyone listening right now is you have got to do this. If you're not, you're not going to survive. You've got to be competitive. You've got to tell the world about your product, your story, and you've got to do it globally. Because like everybody here, Suzanne, Kate, Susan, that what you've told us about it, what you've showed us about it, the data is there that proves everything that I'm saying. And that is why I am doing it. And that is why I am so excited about where my business is going. And I'm so thankful that I am working with IBT because it will never stop. They know now that my website is up there, they know how to change the SEO words, keep it current. They change daily. Everything changes daily. And we don't want to be in the past. We want to step and run to the future as fast and as far as we can go. And that's pretty much my story. That's all I've got to say. It's funny when you look back in the backyard when we just were grilling, and then you look at today and how much things are changing and how much they've changed. And what if we were introducing a grill topper to the market today? What a difference. What resources, what options, and how many people we could tell is it's a great thing for any business today to start up, but it's a necessity and essential to any business today, just like mine. It's what we've got to do, and IBT can help you do it. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you so much. Deborah, thank you very much for those kind words, but especially for your enthusiasm about e-commerce, your encouragement. Get out there, do the business, go for it. And I think what we're hearing again and again from us, but from Kate, from Susan, now from Deborah, and you'll hear it from Gabrielle in a second, is there's support out there. Exporting can be tough. E-commerce can be tough. Don't do it on your own. You don't have to do it on your own. Right, I'm going to zoom through the e-commerce must-haves and to give Gabriella time as well to talk about the GDI, EI, some e-commerce must-haves. Let's talk about a buyer's journey and the buyer persona. This is something that Susan raised earlier and Kate raised when they talk about segmentation and so on. There's some questions you might want to ask, especially when you're going internationally. So you've got some who your buyer persona is in the States. Is it going to be the same across different markets? Susan alluded to this. The picture you have here is L'Oreal USA. All women with great hair. Great. L'Oreal products. Yes, they're all on computers. They're talking. They're in charge. L'Oreal Mexico looks a little bit different. More collegiate. There's two guys in there. There's still great hair. They're still on the top of an urban building, but it's a little bit different because the buyer persona is subtly different. And L'Oreal spends a lot of its time figuring this stuff out. Canada, a little bit different too. Kind of out there for Canada. Because L'Oreal knows that there's a bigger mosaic, if you like, in the Canadian buyer personas than what they would have in the United States or in Mexico. That's the kind of definition that you sort of want in those buyer personas and that buyer's journey. When you have a localized website that is relevant to your local buyer persona. That's the key. That's what we talk when we talk about localized websites or international websites. That means it's localized to the local buyer persona. And we talked about earlier about having everything is searcher centric, customer centric, the sort of things that we mean. Notice out of the 10 criteria on this slide, 1 is language. The rest is other things besides language. Language is the icing on top. That's not what makes a local and relevant website in the local market. So there's for e-commerce, there's an extra little layer there. There's sort of extra little layer of checklists that you need to have when it's relevant to your local buyer. You have to the right pricing and the discounts, the payment methods, the shipping, the returns policy, super important in different places. And as I keep going on about this, compliance and regulation is something that you cannot ignore. So we have this like slogan, go global, but go local, figuring out the detail as much as possible. I'm going to give you a silly example just of some keywords. We've mentioned keywords a couple of times, and especially if you're doing things like Google Ads, you can spend a lot of money, give Google lots of money for nothing if you don't get the keyword right. So Canada, USA, come on, we're neighbors. We're like hand in glove. But if you're in the sports business and you're using the word sneaker in Canada, you're missing out. You've got a little slice of the audience, and the rest is this money you're giving to Google for nothing. So here an example: same language, English, same search engine, Google, different keywords, different Google ad campaigns. So make sure that. Another thing that I wanted to really stress about today's e-commerce globally, but absolutely stress, is the mobile enablement. Your website, your e-commerce functionality has to work on every kind of different format. iPads, little tiny phones, Androids, Apple phones, everything. It's got to be really, really good. Because remember those numbers we said right in the beginning, 5.5 billion of us on the web, 5 billion doing it on their phone. And there's some markets where 90% of the population are accessing via their mobile phone. So, make sure that. Another big thing for e-commerce is making sure you're choosing the right platform. And for this, you need to think long-term. Shopify is your go-to place when you start out. But think long-term. Is it plastic enough? Is it mobile enough? Will it do what I want it to do long-term? What is my projection over 2-3 years? Because changing from one to the another is really painful. It can be done, yes, but it's painful. So figure out what you have. Figure out your stack. Figure out your tech stack. What's missing in it? What do you have to do to get where you need to have? And any good web agency can really help you say these are the things you need to build on. Shopify, go for it. But it's not so cheap. Shopify, once you start getting more expensive in it, it starts getting pretty expensive. So careful on that. Right. Last one I wanted to to highlight is this request a quote builder. This is very much for B2B companies. It's something that we're seeing again and again. B2B companies simply saying we want to have an e-commerce enablement, which is that ends, but I don't want to have it right to the payment gateway. I want my customers to go onto my website and say, I'll have one of those and 3 of these, and like a line configurator. And it ends with a request a quote. It doesn't end with a payment and a delivery. So that is a really something that we're seeing now, just going, all our B2B customers are asking for this one after the other. And it basically allows market qualified leads or sales qualified leads to be generated through the website so that the engineer can then phone the person and say, oh, you put in that request a quote. I've got some information for you here. So that's something. So just sort of saying the other important thing about e-commerce is marketing. You can't open a store and hide it. You've got to have an online marketing strategy from the start, and that means money. But you have to have some thought on your online marketing and do it right and figure it out, and then it will be a very clear, I guess, a return on investment. And that's the best thing I find about the thing that interests me most, let's say, about e-commerce is that you can have return on investment. You can watch it, you can look at it, you make a tiny change, and it adjusts and makes a difference in your returns. So, right, I do want to leave some time for Gabrielle. We're going to quick poll, and then let's if anyone would like to have more about the online global programs or about what we do, let us know. Happy to reach out to you or not, but otherwise we can always do that at some other time if you have an interest in that. Thank you very much for all that clicking. That's very kind. And I'm conscious of time, so we'll end the poll. Gabrielle, you've been very patient. Thank you very much. Let's talk about some Global Diversity Export Initiative from the U.S. Commercial Service.
Well, thank you so much, Susanna. Hello, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank IBT Online for inviting me to present with you today on U.S. Department of Commerce resources for women-owned businesses going global. Again, my name is Gabriela Zelaya, and I'm the Acting Global Diversity Export Initiative Director here at the U.S. Commercial Service. I am based in San Jose, California, and of course, the U.S. Commercial Service is a part of the International Trade Administration, as well as a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So we're a federal government agency. So next slide, please. So about us, the International Trade Administration, or ITA, has more than 2,000 trade and industry experts in the United States and across the world. We're all working to support U.S. exporters. And part of what we do is helping our businesses navigate global markets and take advantage of the different opportunities. So I'd like to highlight 4 of the areas where we provide assistance. First, we provide assistance through export counseling. So we help U.S. companies that sell internationally to problem solve. So a lot of it was mentioned today in terms of the e-commerce and what to take into consideration as you're looking at markets overseas. So because we specialize in international business development, our international trade experts advise on market entry strategies and carry a deep and broad knowledge of the challenges U.S. companies face when competing for business internationally. Second, we produce and provide in-depth industry snapshots or market intelligence that we develop. And we also provide market comparisons and analyses to identify target markets. So our work, of course, is aimed at helping U.S. exporters make decisions on where to focus their efforts. Third, we help make business connections. So we introduce U.S. companies to qualified, pre-screened overseas partners through our business matchmaking services. And I'll highlight a few on a later slide. Fourth, we work to establish a level playing field. We identify and address foreign trade barriers that prevent U.S. goods and services from fairly accessing overseas markets, and we advocate for U.S. business interests abroad. So we lead efforts across the U.S. government and engage with foreign governments to ensure fair and transparent business processes that allow U.S. companies to compete for international business. All right, next slide, please. So I'd like to also highlight a little bit about the Global Diversity Export Initiative, or GDEI. GDEI was launched in 2021 by the International Trade Administration. And through GDEI, we create and execute export promotion strategies to reach diverse businesses in rural and urban underserved communities to help them compete and win in global markets. And this includes women, minority, LGBTQI+, veteran-owned businesses. We leverage the U.S. Commercial Service Network and program offerings, and here I'll touch on a few. So the Gold Key Service, or GKS, is where the Commercial Service will help develop an itinerary of meetings with pre-vetted potential partners. So if a company is looking to travel overseas and meet with different buyers, distributors, you can engage with us on a Gold Key service in advance of your trip, and we can do the legwork for you in identifying those potential partners before your trip. We also have the International Partner Search Service, or IPS, where we develop a report of those potential partners that have expressed interest in working with you and distributing your product or service in the markets. And that report is turned around in about 30 days. Then you reach out via email or a phone call. We can also provide virtual introductions as part of the International Partner Search. We also develop single company promotions, or SCPs. That's where a company would like to do a splash in a market overseas, hold a reception to talk about your product or service to a targeted audience of potential partners as well. So we can develop that with logistics and everything else on behalf of the US company. We also do background checks, or ICPs, and that includes information on finances of a company overseas that you're reaching out to potentially to become one of your partners. So if you need background information, we can provide that to you in an international company profile. We also do website globalization reviews, or WGRs. That's with our e-commerce solutions center, who I know IBT Online works with closely, as well as the W Marketplace. So essentially what we do is we make sure that your website has the correct SEOs and everything else that you need in order to be local for an overseas market. So that is a part of the programs that we provide. And of course, we partner across U.S. government agencies to provide the resources to U.S. exporters. For example, we work in close collaboration with the Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA, and offer co-counseling, joint programming, panel sessions with different information available. We work closely with the Small Business Administration and their State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP, which you've heard about earlier. Many small businesses can offset some of the fees through the STEP grant programs available from their state economic development offices or state trade centers. So that's key for financial support that helps U.S. small businesses to learn to export, participate in foreign trade missions, design international marketing strategies and campaigns. It supports website globalization and e-commerce capabilities. The Export-Import Bank of the United States, or EXIM, is the official export credit agency of the United States. EXIM is an independent executive branch agency with a mission of supporting American jobs by facilitating the export of U.S. goods and services. EXIM assists American businesses by equipping them with the financing tools necessary to compete for global sales. EXIM does have a designated office, the EXIM Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Outreach Team, who works closely with our GDEI team to offer joint counseling, joint programming, and other activities. Next slide, please. So with the data that we have, with almost 272,000 U.S. small and medium-sized businesses exporting, the limited number of companies from underserved communities participating in international trade is in stark contrast with the total universe of exporters. According to the most recent U.S. Census data in 2021 from a sample of approximately 146,000 firms that export, 15% are women-owned businesses. So only 15% of that sample are women-owned businesses that are exporting. 6% are Hispanic-owned, 6% are veteran-owned, and only 1% are Black or African-American owned firms. So through our GDI program, the Department of Commerce does seek to continue to scale the next generation of innovation, maintain global competitiveness, and ensure that more diverse businesses are benefiting from harnessing the potential of exports. Next slide, please. So to help maximize our reach to businesses in underserved communities, we have deepened our relationships with national chambers of commerce and diverse business associations through our strategic partnership programs. And here's just to highlight a few of our partnerships that focus on women. We work with the Organization for Women in International Trade, or OIT, and of course the W Marketplace, who you've heard of today. And of course, IBT Online is also a strategic partner with the commercial service. Next slide, please. So for those companies who would like to accelerate their company's export strategy and of course the planning process into a concise time frame, the ITA also offers the Global Diversity Export Tech Program, which is a national program developed by the Commercial Service and the MEP National Network in collaboration with the National Alliance for Black Business, the National Business League, and the National Black Chamber of Commerce to help Black-owned small business executives accelerate their growth in global markets. The program is conducted online during 6 3-hour sessions with individualized coaching over an 11-week period. And Export Tech accelerates a company's export strategic planning process. The program offers a focus on personal care products for this cohort. However, all businesses are welcome to apply. I believe they're still taking applications for this program. And then on the next slide, we are also offering a third cohort for the Global Diversity Export Tech Program, and that one's in collaboration with the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development. And that Export Tech program will be offered in the fall. So there's an opportunity to apply to either one as well. Next slide. So if you'd like to stay tuned on our work with GDI and the upcoming opportunities, we do issue a monthly GDI newsletter with upcoming programs developed or supported by the Commercial Service. In honor of Women's History Month, our March edition highlighted events that focused on women exporters. A few of the programs are highlighted in the next slides. Next slide, please. Okay. So the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimundo, recently announced our 2024 GDI event schedule to expand opportunities for diverse exporters. Of course, we invite you to join some of these activities. This March, we led the trade mission to Panama, Costa Rica, and Colombia in conjunction with the Opportunities for Women-Led Businesses in the Americas Conference in Panama. I know that IBT Online did participate in that, so appreciate that. Mission participants focused on, of course, building bridges between U.S. women-owned or led businesses and business communities in Panama, Costa Rica, and Colombia. This May, we'll be organizing a seminar for women's business leaders during our largest annual trade mission, Trade Winds, which is taking place in Istanbul, Turkey. Participants will have an opportunity to meet with the Commercial Service diplomats from 30 plus countries in the region. There are opportunities to participate in optional B2B meetings and also meetings in Denmark, Turkey, Italy, Romania, Kazakhstan, and Poland. In December, we're also anticipating offering the trade mission to Saudi Arabia for U.S. women-owned, led, and operated businesses. This is our first trade mission to Saudi focused on women, and so we encourage folks to apply to that program. Throughout the year, we are continuing to offer our Building Bridges to Global Markets event series. The series brings in-person exporting expertise to underserved communities around the United States. We address issues most common to diverse businesses. This event introduces reliable contacts and ready-to-use resources to help you place your business firmly on the road to exporting success. Participants will have an opportunity to meet one-on-one with the federal, state, and local trade experts on site. And then, of course, you can mark your calendars for the Building Bridges for Women in Global Trade on June 13th in Los Angeles, California. Next slide, please. I also want to leave you with, of course, resource links. I believe some of them were shared in the chat there, but I believe this will be made available to you so that you can take part on these resource links. And then with that, the last slide here is basically our GDI website and my contact information if you'd like to reach out to me. And with that, I'd like to turn the mic over to Susanna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you. And I guess we're really hitting up against the time clock here. Let's just quickly run through some takeaways, some resume and summary. So if we're looking at takeaways and sort of the next steps, what you do. Okay, I'm going to start with some. Why do women-owned exporters need online business tools? As you heard from Deborah, the world has changed. It's online. That's where your future prospects will be. That's where your clients are. And as you heard from Susan and Kate, that's where it is. That's where it's happening. And Gabriella as well with all that. So make sure your online assets work hard for you. Make sure you're on top of that. Latest trends, we talked about some of those. Watch that space. It's there's a lot going on there. I think that we heard also about this sort of local buyer personas, the audience segmentation. We had that a bit from Susan, Deborah as well, and from IBT's point of view. There is a lot of resources out there. Go and join W Marketplace Accelerator or reach out to US Commercial Service. Check it out. It's an amazing service there for you. And I think, and our services too, we have these online global programs as well. I think we're sort of running up against, I think we won't do the video, forget the video. Thank you very much. We're running up against time, and I do see that there's some questions, but I think we're best if we actually respond via email to you directly with questions. But I did want to make sure that you all saw, again, the contact details. Hold on. That's not a good idea. No, that's not a good page. Sorry, the first page. Forget that page. Wrong details. No, there. Go back to the very beginning. There we go. Thank you. So the correct emails are on that page. So if you have questions and things like that, put them in the chat box now. We'll reply via email. I wanted then to thank everybody for attending. Gabriella, thank you so much, and for you and for all the U.S. Commercial Service, all the help that you give the companies. It's amazing. It's amazing service, really handheld service. Susan and Kate's had to jump off to another call, but Susan and Kate, dynamic, and let's start one company. No, let's start two companies, and then let's add. I am so admirative of the energy and the focus that you have, and of course, Deborah. I look forward to coming over and grilling with you sometime and having those fresh veggies on the grill. That looks delicious always. Thank you so much for your kind words, especially. And then to our audience, we know you're busy. Thank you for attending, and even we ran 2 minutes over. Thank you all so much. Looking forward to our next event, live stream, webinar, trade show, in person, have lunch sometime, all of those things. Be well, happy exporting. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you for
Yeah.
everybody for attending.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Bye.